Any questions? Okay, so we'll begin the tour now. Four steps below, the floor is slippery. Take your time, okay? You're welcome.
All right, so guys, welcome back to my channel once again. Babadam here today from Takoradi to Cape Coast, and I'm here at the Cape Coast Castle. What do you know about the Cape Coast Castle? Please, if today is your first time on this channel, please subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell for more content on this channel. Today, we are going to tour the Cape Coast Castle and see what is here. So, without wasting much of your time, let's get into the video. Babadam here.
When
Let's
these
go.
Europeans came to Africa, they did not live in ordinary homes like we do. They built forts and castles. In Ghana, they left three castles. Elmina Castle, built by the Portuguese around 1482. Yeah, Elmina, yes. In the Central region, Bernard and Cape Coast. Yes. And we have Christianborg Castle built by the Danes, Denmark, around 1661. And this very castle built by the English around 1664. What were some of the sources of slaves? Through raiding and kidnappings. Two things involved. Some of the Africans were kidnappers and raiders by profession, meaning they'll go to hunt for human beings and bring them to the Europeans in exchange for things like mirror, fabrics, sugar, alcohol. And the Europeans too, they raided and kidnapped people all by themselves to the point that they could set people's homes on fire. While people were running for their lives, they were captured at gunpoint. When these Europeans realized they were not getting the number of people they were looking for, so what they did was to company with the local leaders who were in the midst of tribal wars. They realized these African leaders would need guns, gunpowder for war. So the Europeans had guns, gunpowder. So what they did was they brought in their gunpowder guns to the African leaders in exchange for their prisoners of war, people who couldn't pay their debt, and criminals. Yeah, this worked because slavery already existed in Africa. But slavery in here, compared to the transatlantic slave trade, was more human. To the point that a slave could even keep his own right, his human right. He had the right to retain his name, to get married. To the point that they could even rise up to become part of the royal family if the slaves showed good character. So slavery in Africa was more like servitude. Any questions? Okay, so we'll begin the tour now. Four steps below, the floor is slippery. Take your time, okay? You're welcome.
Going down.
Yeah, I'll put up the light to give you a feel. Okay, at that time there wasn't anything like this. The only source of light and air they had were these three holes. We have five rooms in the male slave dungeon. One, two, three, four, five. And each of the room could hold about 150 to 200 people. meaning we have an average of 700 people in all the 5 rooms together. If all the rooms were full, then we have about 1,000 people in here. And being inside here, there wasn't anything like, I won't ease myself, let me go out. I won't visit the washroom. You had to do everything here. Okay, we should be standing on solidified human waste, but we on the original floor made with bricks because this place has gone through excavation. In 1974, there's some group of archaeological students from Ghana, Legon. They came to dig the floor for their research. It was after digging they discovered the floor was made with bricks. Yeah, before they could touch the floor, they left some white markings on the walls to show the level of the accumulation of the solidified human waste. Let me show you. Could you move this way so I can? Yes. Like so we have some vertical lines on the walls. These lines. Yeah, the basis of the white markings. That was the level of the solidified human waste. And this one measures right to my ankle, meaning a slave could stand in his own waist right up to this level. It's like you're standing in a river. The question then is, how do they sleep? They had to stand or squat because there wasn't enough space for everybody to lie down. The student who dug the floor did not take everything away. They left a portion for us. So on the very thing Daddy stands is solidified human waste. Before 1974, the entire floor had this covering. Yeah, what we have here is a mixture of blood, tears, sweat, urine, feces, food particles, and any other thing the captives left here. Any questions for me? Okay. Then we'll move to the next rooms. Okay, so needless to say, this is the third room. Comparing this very floor to the first floor, what do we not see? Thank you. Yeah, we don't see brick or bricks. Yeah, meaning we're on top of solidified human waste. Yeah, if we were to dig, we find bricks beneath because the castle was built with bricks. Hello? Because the castle was built with bricks, oyster shells, lime powder, stone, sand, palm oil. Among all the places, the Europeans could have chosen to build a church. They chose no other place but on top of this very building room. Yeah. So while we have people dining here, God was being praised and worshiped above. Yeah, the church was SPG, Society for the Propagation of the Gospel, now the Anglican Church. Why do you think among all the places they chose this place on top of a dungeon? Why? Okay. There are many reasons for what they did, and some of these reasons include one, they saw our blackness to be darkness. Where do you find the dark kingdom? If you die a sinner, where do you go? Hell. And Africans at that time, we did not know anybody called Jesus Christ. Africans are worshiping trees, stones, rocks. So these Europeans say, okay, if these Africans are not worshiping God through Jesus Christ, but through rocks, stones, and rivers, then they are sinners. So we condemn them to hell. While the heaven symbolized heaven, the church. So while we have hell here, we have the righteous people in heaven. Interesting, huh? Yeah, if I remember clearly, the same scriptures they brought says that for all have sinned, right? Yeah, and falling short of the glory of the living God. So if there are people who are to be in hell, it is not just the Africans, but everybody. I say this so nobody goes home distrusting the God they believe in. It is not God, Jesus, or the Holy Spirit who enslaved Africans. It is the people who came preaching about them. Questions? All right, come with me. Yeah, this is the last room. When the ships arrived, the enslaved Africans did not go through the same door we came from. They had to go through an underground passage, which was here. At that time, this thing you see here wasn't here. All that was here was the entrance of a tunnel where the slaves in chains, in shackles, in cuffs walked through to the door of no return. Yeah, the entrance of the passage was blocked around 1834 to mark the end of the slave trade. And that was led by Captain George McLean. Compare this room to the rest of the rooms. You realize this is the brightest room, right? Yes, simply because here was a selection room where the healthy slaves were kept apart from the weak ones. The weak slaves were kept there in the corner there to allow the strong ones exit. After that, these weak souls are removed for them to wait for the next shipment, but without any medical attention. Yeah, meaning your survival depended on the immunity of your body, how strong your body was. If grace found you in time, you survived fine. But if you died, there was no burial for any black slave in the castle. All of them were dumped into the sea. You look around, we see these wreaths, flowers brought in by people like us in the memory of those who lost their lives here. Any translation needed? She needs. Okay, all right. Questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
All of these like flowers, who brings them here, and how I know to come from the Caribbean, Americas, and this is like the last place they can trace their ancestry to. How do people react to be here when based on your observations?
There's some who weep, they cry. I learned in America they're not taught subject like this, the transatlantic slave trade. They talk about the First World War, the Second World War. So they come here and they're like, okay, so these are my people. Stayed. Yeah, they angered. Yes. And these were brought in by anybody, people like us. So if you want to bring some tomorrow, you can. Then we have a shrine for some of the Africans. The stone you see with blood and flowers on top, it is a god for some of these Africans. It used to form part of the entire rock on which the castle was built. But after our people gave the land out to the Europeans, they stopped the natives of the land from worshiping the entire rock. Reasons being that they bought the land. Again, because scripture says, don't worship me through anything I have made, but through who? Jesus Christ. That he is the way, the truth, and the life, that nobody ever get to the Father except through him. The people of the land were so determined to worship the rock. So what they did was to cut portions of the rock. One, two, took the pieces from here before the castle was built. The pieces were brought back here after the end of the slave trade. How come Africans got to worship trees, rocks, and rivers? Because I read this book called A History of Ghana, and the author explained that Africans at that time did not have the scientific knowledge to explain the natural occurrences like earthquake, flood, lightning. They saw power in these things that they could not produce naturally. So they said, okay, so to appease these things, then we go and worship them. Any questions? Okay, then we're going to go out to continue if there are no questions. Sorry. That's where the weak ones were kept. Uh, just for justice.
But you didn't meet the people that were following.
I thought, no, I thought you directed. No. I just had no idea. Okay, the entire field was for barren Europeans. Yeah, if any black slave died, I said they were trashed into the sea. Yeah. This is the only black grave we have in the castle. He was buried here because, not because he was a slave, but simply because his father was a supplier of slaves. And for that reason, he came to have the chance to be trained as Anglican priest. Right? Philip Koku was simply called Kweku, Koku Ejiri. You know, Africans, they named their kid according to the days they were born, alongside the tribe they were born into. But in England, when he was taken there, the name was anglicized, changed from Kweku to Kwaku, and then given the Christian name Philip after his baptism in England. He died at the age of 75 in 1816, at the time where the slave trade was still walking and running in the castle. Questions? Okay, then we talk about the other graves. My same God. Yeah, this is C.B. Whitehead. He was a soldier for the English. He died at the age of 38. We don't really know what killed him. In the middle, we have Letitia Elizabeth London, the wife of Captain George McLean. Yeah, McLean was a governor in the castle, 46 years old. Malaria confirmed killed him. His wife came to visit him, but 2 months upon arrival, she was discovered dead in his bedroom. We have three school of thought pointing out what killed this woman. The first school of thought holds she died of malaria. The second school of thought has it that when she came, upon discovering McLean had an African mistress, she couldn't take it. Out of jealousy, she poisoned herself. Broken heart will reach everybody out. Yeah, the last argument is that no, it was George McLean together with the mistress who poisoned her so they could continue with their romance. Yeah, 36, she died. Questions? Okay, then we see the well. Yeah, we've seen a well. They stored rain to cook for the slaves. Yeah, each time it rained, it passed through the pipes connected to the walls to those places. It was the same thing the masters had to depend on. But you should know that before the masters could take it in, then they had to put it on fire. They had to boil it, filter it before they could take it in. But the blacks started drinking. Hello, we are here, guy. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, they had to boil it before they could take it in. But the blacks had to take it like that because they believed we were so strong that we could take it anything without being killed by it. Questions? Okay, before it became a well, this was a dungeon before they could construct the underground one. This was where the slaves were kept to wait for the ship. In there, 18 feet deep. Yes. Yeah. Is that question to me? Okay. Okay, so we're seeing part of the underground passage. And the last room, I said they had to go through something, right? Yeah, so they moved from that place in chains. Walk cross this place to the door of no return. Nobody could crisscross. I mean, nobody could come out and nobody could go in. Why then do we have this opening? This was just an observatory for the white soldiers to stand and watch the slaves move. Okay, command them. Look at the big head. Come on, hurry up. The black skin. Come on, go. Yeah. There are no steps to allow in and out movement. So please, if you want to have a look, watch out. Okay. Yeah. talk about the entrance of an underground passage. There was a tunnel in the male slave dungeon. So they moved from that place. Okay, they walk through the observatory right to this place. Okay, come. Confused. Yeah, this was the end of the passage where the slaves will go through a small door, which was here. The original, the real door of no return was here, very small. They had to block it because the sea was coming here, distracting the whole thing. Yeah, they blocked it, did not give up, made another door of no return outside this room to continue the trade. Any questions? Okay, then we go out. Okay, so this was a female prison. It was a female prison for the females who acted strong like the wind. Okay, they fought, they resisted rape. If you said no to sexual abuse, you're brought here for 2 weeks maximum punishment. If we're here for more than 2 weeks and you're still let nobody rape you, is what the Europeans had to do was to break your spirit. They had to do something to subjugate you. How? By letting you carry some of the cannonballs, they're the biggest ones. You carry more than one of the balls, and you are commanded to walk with the balls. As you walk with them, if any of the balls left your hands to the ground, that meant agreement to be raped. Meaning nobody escaped being raped. Because I don't know anybody here who can carry those balls and walk with them successfully. Is there anybody here like that with your challenge? Okay. No enslaved African again was allowed to take a bath in the castle. The only time a female slave could take a bath was when any of the white officials wanted to rape them. Women experience menstrual cycle, right? And she's now the only woman in the female slave dungeon. She's in there with more than 20 women, more than 50 women. So her blood plus yes, urine plus yes, sweat, feces, whoever the potential rapist was, humanly speaking, could not stand the smell. Therefore, the need to take this woman, wash the woman down properly, apply pomade, perfume on the skin, give her nice clothes to wear, heavy food to eat before raping her. When that was done, she wasn't done with. She was brought back to the female slave dungeons to wait for the ships to come get her. Questions? Okay. Question?